Welcome to another Lightblade Learning Lab. So now we're going to get into RDWorks in a little bit more detail. We're going to tackle some of the tools, the drawing tools today. Now I call them drawing tools because RDWorks basically operates in both a vector drawing and a bitmap drawing manner. It can deal with both sorts of drawings, but it has got some tools in here which operate in just the vector mode. These tools give the impression when you first look at the package that this ought to be a CAD package or a vector drawing package. Trust me, it's not. As a CAD package or a drawing package, it has serious limitations. You need to be doing all your design work and all your photographic editing work in other packages. This is the final stage between your work and the machine. This is basically an interface package. It is not a fully functioning drawing package. Now there are lots of features in here which will allow you to do drawing. It's almost like a hospital package. Once you've imported your stuff into here, you can still make changes to it, but it has serious limitations. Having said that, it is an amazing program. When I first touched RDWorks, I was really very disappointed. I thought, what do you get for nothing? Nothing. So I wasn't disappointed. But then I grew to understand what it was all about. And it's an amazing interface that takes your drawings and very, very efficiently and seamlessly, without you knowing what's going on, converts your drawings into machine code that can be interpreted and appear on your laser machine. Well, let's not get too worried about doing any real cutting today. Let's just get down to understanding how the tools work. We start at the top of this tool list on the left hand side here, and we've just got the general pointer. It does nothing more than what it says. It's a pointer. The second one underneath is a bit more complex, but that's a node pointer, and we'll deal with that later. Okay, now the first tool that we're going to select is a line tool. We'll click on the line, and that's the thing. You can't keep using the same line again and again. You have to keep going to select it, which is a bit of a nuisance. So we've dragged it onto the page, and really all we need to do is we don't need to hold the mouse button now. We can just go click. All right, and that pins it down at one end. We can move it around wherever we want. And now we can use the control key if we wish, and the control key will make it move in just the ordinate horizontal and vertical positions. I now need to keep the control key held down and click the mouse button again, and that now locks the line in place. Now that line, if I put a marquee round it or touch the line, you'll see that it's got handles on it. It's got a center point, which is its position point. If you remember, we spoke about position in the last session, and what we've now done, we've looked here and we've still got center position selected. So that's where the definition of the line comes from. If we want to move the position of the handle, so its location position is the same as the green dot, we need to do that. Okay, so now when I move that around, if I want to move that line from that position to, say, 100 by 100, so I make X into 100, and I will make Y into 100, and there it is. So that's a line. It's got a handle on the end. Can I do anything with it? Yeah, I can stretch it. I can change its dimension. As you can see there, we've changed it from 0, because it's horizontal, to 232. So I've got the option of changing and editing the line length. Once I've got it in there, I could make it 300. So there's a few things that I can do with a line, the line command and the line position. The next one down, it's called Apollo Gen. Now, What that really means is we can't spell, because I think it probably should be polygon. Now, it's not a polygon in the sense that you could create a regular polygon as you can with a CAD package, for example. What this basically means is I can draw a line, click, carry on, draw another line, click, draw another line, and of course I'm generating a polygon. Now if we watch what happens here, I'm dragging that line around, and as I get towards this end point here, I get a closure, and now I have created a polygon, because that point there, and I'm going to roll with my mouse scroll tool, I can scroll in and have a look at that corner. And because this is a vector package, you'll notice the lines don't get any thicker, and I can see exactly what's happening at that corner, which is a perfect join. So I'll now roll my mouse and scroll out. But you need to be very careful when you're scrolling out, because if you scroll out too far, it's possible, depending on which version of this software you've got, that you'll scroll out to nothing and your system will crash. So just be careful when you're scrolling. If you want to get back to a nominal correct size, we've got these tools across the top, which I can talk about now very quickly. But if you go to the middle one, which is the one you're most likely to use all the time, this is basically set it back to normal. Click, and it sets the page back to normal. So of those 7 magnifying glasses at the top there, the middle one is the best one to really remember. We will tackle those shortly, but I just thought I'd mention that as we go. Now the next tool down is called Curve. We click on that, click on the page, and put a double click on, and all of a sudden that doesn't look like a curve. It's a rather special curve. All those features that are on the page here so far are lines, and if there was a circle or a square, there would be a mathematical definition that would define the size, shape of a linear type object. You cannot define mathematical terms a freehand squiggle. But a Frenchman called Bézier invented a system that allowed you to draw straight lines which have got a mathematical definition, and then you can grab hold of those straight lines, and there are features on it, handles, levers. You can see the lever out here. We've got a lever down here. I can do magical things with these levers. I can create lines, I can stretch them, I can distort them. Now that's a freehand squiggle for which there is a mathematical definition. And there are tools up here. When you select this node tool now, edit node, there are various tools down here which you can play with to allow you to add, for instance, nodes in here. Add node. I can put a node in the middle here, and that will allow me to stretch it out there. And then the lever, click, I can grab hold of the end of the lever. Whoops, should be able to. And I can do things with that lever. It's basically like a magnet on the end there, and it's attracting the line proportionate to its distance, and it's quite an amazing tool. And there we go. So we can distort that shape to anything we like. They're Bezier curves, and this package has the ability to create these Bezier curves, which is quite powerful. I will leave you to play with Bezier curves if you haven't played with them before. As soon as you select the node tool, if you watch down at the bottom of this toolbar here, you'll see you get a secondary toolbar appear. Okay, now these are various selections that go along with the node tool. And if I go to the top of that toolbar just there, look, you can see I've got a little movement cross. If I grab hold of that, I can take that up and I can tuck that just in there. That's a more convenient place, and I can then tuck it right up the top of the toolbar. So that's a more convenient place to have the node tools that are associated with the node editing arrow. And of course, as soon as I select the normal tool, they disappear. Let's go back to a normal selection now. Now the square tool, again, you can click on it, hands off the mouse, move it around, and then click where you want it to start. Now it's interesting because you may be able to find the end of that object there. Click. Didn't quite work how I was expecting it. You would think that, you know, you could attach objects to something else like magnetically by going to the end of it like that. Click. No. So that doesn't work. Only with the polygon line can I get this magnetic attraction to attach to end of lines. Polygon line, let's just check. Polygon. You see, I can attach a line to the end there, and then I can press escape, and that gives me a single line. Whereas I can't do that magnetic attraction with a normal line. Now it might look as though it's done it, but if we zoom in, you'll find that it hasn't done it. Now the square tool, you would think that the way that it normally operates, you can click and click and it would produce a square. No, that's the way you produce a line. Look, let's just do that again. A line, click, click. A square, you would think I've got to drop two corners down. Click, first corner, click, second corner. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to actually click on the tool and then hold down the mouse key this time from the start point. And then you can drag it around, and then when you let go, that's it. So there's no consistency in the way in which they have designed this package. So let's do it again, and we will start it off, and we've got a rectangle. If I hold down the control key now and I move around, look what happens. I've forced it into a square, and that's by holding down the control key. Okay, now I've got to let go of the mouse before I let go of the control key, and now I've got myself a square. And the same logic applies to the circle. Well, it's not a circle, it's an ellipse tool. Again, I can't click and click. I've got to hold it down, drag out an ellipse, and either let go, in which case I shall get the ellipse, or I can hold down the control key and move the mouse and I get a circle. But I've got to let go of the mouse before I let go of the control key. Okay, so there's some basic drawing tools and a few guides as to how you might be able to use them. We'll just clear the page with a marquee and a delete. All gone. Okay, now this next tool is a bit of a strange tool. It's a text tool. Now it can be actually a very powerful tool, especially if you want to do some engraving of plaques and things like that. But your first impression of the tool is it's rubbish, because you click on it, you drag it onto your page, and nothing is there. But you get this box open, and I've already filled this box with a little piece of text, which we can change to all sorts of fonts if we wish. Let's just change that to something a little bit fancy. Let's try that one. Okay, you can see clearly that it's come in a box that I can move around by grabbing hold of a corner. I can't grab it down and I can't grab it out to the left, but I can grab it in a diagonal which keeps everything proportionate. So I can't really stretch it, or can I? Yes, I can. Let's put that back to normal, Control Z. Now there's something else that you might be interested in. Just put some handles on it, and if I grab hold of this side handle, I can mirror it. But of course it isn't mirrored to any special extent because I may have got it incorrect when I stretched it. It's a freehand stretch which reverses the text. So let's just undo that, Control Z, because if you do really want reverse text, you've got a feature here, horizontal mirror, which will achieve the same thing for you perfectly. Okay, and you've also got a vertical mirror. And if you do it twice, it reverts back to normal. Of course, this piece of text is left justified. There are no obvious justification tools here, and if I click on it, I get back into this text box, and you look in here and you think, no, there's nothing in here either. I can change the height of the character, I can change the line spacing, I can change the character spacing, I can change the width, but that still doesn't justify it. Right, well, if we click on any one of these characters, just catch a character and click on it, you'll notice something strange has happened. I've selected everything. Now that's a bit of a clue as to what's going on, because it tells you that all of this text is sitting there as one group object. There are two very powerful tools at the end of the toolbar here, which I ignored when I first saw this package because I really couldn't see the use of them. But as time has gone on, I've come to love them because they are incredibly powerful. Now the first one is, if we've got a piece of text like this, we need to put handles on it, and then we can just go to this ungroup box and click. When I click one of these letters now, they're no longer part of a group. In fact, it gets better or worse depending on your point of view, because if I click the center of this O, you'll notice that the center of the O is completely independent of the outside of the O. So if I've got letters with, if you like, loose pieces in the middle, then you need to be careful if you're going to be moving stuff around. What we now need to do is to go to the first line and turn it back into a group object. So we'll group it, and then we'll go to the second line and we will group that. Then we'll go to the third line, group that, and the fourth line, group that. So now we've got 4 separate groups. There are some other very powerful tools up here which took me a long time to find out how they worked. One of the most powerful groups are these alignment tools here. There are some rules associated with this grouping. The last one that was selected, which is this one here, becomes the master. I'll tell you what we can do. We can draw a box round there like that. And what we have to do now is to select them all together. I can either put a marquee round them like that. So I've selected 4 separate groups there, and the last group that we created was this one here, check justification. And now we'll go and test what's happening here. Let's have a look at these tools. We've got one of them which is center vertical. Let's just see what happens when we click that. Wow. We've centered the text. We've center justified it. And you'll notice what I said, the last object that we chose is the anchor point. And you can see that it has still stayed in its rectangle. Okay, so we could also select this one, which is align right. And now we've got right justified text. And we can put it back to left justified text with that one. So these alignment tools are pretty amazing. So that's how you can justify text if you want. We'll just delete that box because that's going to get in the way. And in fact, we will just do that again. We'll select all that and we'll make it into center justified text. And I can move this group around now like this, even though there are 4 separate pieces of text, because I've effectively grouped them with the marquee. But equally well, I can click on any one of these, marquee a particular one, and I can move that independently. And so if that's the one that I want to align, because that's my anchor, I haven't changed the anchor point, we can do this again, and I can align, and I shall align it back to the check justification, centered on there. Oh dear. Let me show you something else. So you've seen these alignment tools here and what they can do, but remember that the critical thing is an anchor point. The last thing that you select is the anchor, and the last thing that I selected was check justification, so that's become the anchor. Now we've got these other tools beside it. Now these are different sorts of alignment tools. We've got height, we've got width, and this one here, which is very interesting, it's called down and up, and you wondered what on earth down and up means. Let me show you. Watch that text. Fascinating, isn't it? What it's done, it's spaced every line evenly between the first and the last line. So let me try that again. If we don't like that spacing, let's get rid of the marquee and let's put that one in there, and let's drag that one down to here. We'll put them all in a box again and we'll try that same trick again. But you get the idea. You can play with the text using these spacing and alignment tools. So I think we've done enough with text just to show you how you can manipulate text. This next tool here, which is called point, is exactly that. Now, please don't take this as a pun, but I actually can't see the point. Because I normally work with a CAD system, if I want a load of points accurately placed on a piece of material, I will draw something like a 1mm or 3/4 mm diameter circle, and that produces a very nice hole. Maybe I need the hole for centering off for drilling, for example. I do a large number of jobs where I use a pattern of holes that I then use a drill, and that works absolutely superb. It saves me a huge amount of time centering up and finding the holes accurately, measuring them up and putting them in the right position. Bear in mind that with this software, if I want another dot, I've got to go across to here, I've got to select it, and I've got to put another dot in, and then I've got to go back to here, select it, and put another dot in. There is no way of me carrying on a chain of dots. It's actually far easier to do a copy and then do Control V with the keyboard, so wherever I put the pointer I should get a copy. Control V, yeah, Control V, Control V, Control V, so I can actually produce a string of copies much quicker with the keyboard. And then what I can do is I can box them all in like this. I can go up here to my commands, and I can first of all make sure they're all centered horizontally, and there we are, they're in a line. And then I can make sure that they're all spaced equally between the first and the last one, like that. So, you know, there are times when it could be useful using some of the tools that I've already demonstrated to you. There are other ways of producing this pattern of holes as well, which we'll get onto in the next session. So let's just ignore dots for the moment. Oh, something I forgot to show you. Put the dots back in. At the moment, if we take a look over here, we've got a black X. If I put a marquee round these, you will notice something about that X. All of a sudden it's turned red. But that is a delete. So now the final thing that I'm going to talk about is this camera. I've connected my phone up, and we get the opportunity here to either get the information from the scanner. In other words, I can scan a picture on my scanner, or in this particular instance, I've chosen my phone to look at. Oh, there we go. We've got some pictures. Bring that picture up, shall we? Get picture. Well, yes, it's a picture. Ah, we've got some handles now because I've got the right pointer on. That means I should be able to scale it now. I'll tell you what, we can go up here and we can scale this. We've got the lock on. We'll scale this down to 10%. Okay, so you can get pictures directly onto the screen here. To be honest, this is really the wrong way to do pictures. There's very few facilities in here for working with pictures. I will come on to pictures later, but this is not the point to do it. I was just really showing you that you have a tool here which allows you to import pictures directly to RDWorks via the scanner, or as I found out, from my phone. Very interesting, but pretty useless, because from the picture work that I've done, you don't need the pictures here. You need to do a lot of preparation work in other bits of software before you even bring it near RDWorks. And because the picture is live, look, we've got the delete function over here. Now, just above the delete function, there's something called LPG design. Now, this is a hugely complicated piece of the system, which I don't intend to go into now. It's all about basically putting dots, dashes, shapes onto a piece of perspex or other similar sort of material so that you can produce backlit screens with shapes and patterns on them. They call them windows, but really it's a bit like edge-lit acrylic signs. It's a subject all on its own. And that really is about as far as I want to go today. We've covered these basic tools down here. We've touched a few bits and pieces up the top here, like the dimension windows. We haven't really talked about the scaling at the moment. We did talk about rotations in an earlier session. So we've covered tools in this small corner here. Now we've got to look at all these other things along the top row and some of these other features and functions up here, which are much more to do with the programming side of things. But we'll tackle those in the next session, because these are the more advanced tools, and some of these things down here like matrix copies. So thanks for watching, and we shall catch up with you next time.